Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to the Trader Merlin Show. Hope you had a great day out there. I can tell you already this show is going to be a bit scattered, and the main reason is I'm on one of those, like, you know when you get on those, like, those daily highs where just things are just awesome and just sounds freaking amazing. So I'm listening to a show, and of course you guys know I'm a fish fan, but there's this show I'm listening to. It's from 2003. It's a song called Tweezer, February 28, 2003, from Nassau Coliseum in Uniondale, New York. And right around 20 minutes into this track, it just turns into such a great jam. And I tell you what, my heart rate has probably jumped up 30 beats per minute, and I'm pumped. I got the vibe. It's a great trading day. So cheers, everybody. Hope it was a good trading day for you. And we'll talk about the circle trade. I can see TD says my circle trade is smoked so far. Yeah, we'll see. You know, that's why I didn't do a big position. I only have 3 contracts on at this point. Looks like a loser. Today was just a crazy day for Circle. The good news is I have all sorts of other trades on today, especially my MicroStrategy was absolutely awesome. So anyway, cheers, everybody. I'll hopefully not finish this whole glass for the show today. So as always happens with our markets, difficult to foresee an event, although when you have countries like Israel and Iran, I had an analogy earlier for the relationship between Israel and Iran, and it was about a specific ailment that I guess a disease that people will get. And once you have this disease, you can't get rid of it, right? You just have it forever. And I feel like that's the relationship between Iran and Israel, that as long as I've been alive, there's always been tension there. And it seems like it's something that will never fully heal. It will always be tension over there. I didn't want to say it, Maman. I did not want to say it. I'll let you do that one. But yeah, you know, once you got it, you can't get rid of it. And that's this hatred there between these two. And unfortunately, you know, I don't foresee a peaceful resolution happening at any time in my lifetime. But what it does is it creates this powder keg that once it flares up, and obviously the missile attacks from Israel on Iran last night, I mean, I came out of nowhere. I was looking at my accounts and everything was fine, and all of a sudden, just wham! I'm like, whoa, what just happened? Especially for my crypto accounts, right? I'm sure some of you watched Bitcoin just plummet last night. Luckily, it stopped right at our demand zone again and bounced, which was great. But, you know, this type of thing is just, it's always going to be a factor in our markets. And I like that, Big Eb, a gray swan event. That's a good way of putting it, because it's not a black swan, right? I mean, black swan, you never saw it coming. This, we know it's going to happen, but we just don't know when. And, you know, sometimes it goes to this periods of peace. And you're like, okay, great. They're on good terms. And then all of a sudden, boom, snap of the fingers, it just goes absolutely crazy. So that was a difficult one today. Now, fortunately for me, my swing trades panned out. I actually ended up having a phenomenal week, even though we had Circle as a losing trade for me and a lot of volatility. You know, the first part of the week was actually rather calm. There wasn't a tremendous amount of volatility. And then things screamed today and last night. So let me go through our top 8 here. We'll talk about the broader markets. Obviously, the crude oil chart was just fantastic. And, you know, this chart we were looking at, this inverse head and shoulders, I normally don't tweet about that type of stuff, but I had to tweet it out because it's just so awesome. You know, we talked about this several weeks ago as the pattern was forming. And when we were here, you know, right as it came up to it, I had drawn this line in place that, hey, you know, it does feel like it's gaining some strength. And a gentleman commented today, I think it was Gonzo on my Twitter feed. He says, there's always signs that this is coming. And, you know, if you look what happened to the price of crude oil on Wednesday and Thursday, Wednesday being a huge jump up, and on Thursday another continuation there, it does feel like this was already baked in. And I heard President Trump say something about, you know, Israel potentially attacking Iran for nuclear defense purposes, etc. You know, that may have been the writing on the wall there, and maybe I'm just ignorant to not having reacted to that one sooner. But I thought we were actually going to get to that $72 mark here on crude oil like next week. And boom, I mean, one day you had a gigantic swing, and this is the cost of that type of conflict. I mean, you had let's see, is that a red candle? From yesterday's close to where it peaked out today, you're up 14%. I mean, and that happened in a very short window of time. You guys can see when the attack started. I'll zoom in here. Bear with me as I scroll through the after hours. I mean, look at that jump. I mean, these were huge swings in a very short window of time when the market was theoretically closed. So, yeah, it's exactly, Steve. 10K on one contract, right? It's like, wow. It'll be a short negotiation. Well, what's scary is when you see Iran post comments like, I saw one from the Iranian Defense Council and it said, just remember, we did not start this. Well, it's been ongoing forever and ever and ever, and I'm certain that they'll all, it's like the chicken or the egg, which one started the conflict first. But let's hope that it does not turn into a much more devastating conflict. And as Margaret brings up a good point, it must be difficult to live there. Absolutely. I was asked by several of my friends who are Israeli to go to Tel Aviv and come visit them in Israel. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Sorry. I just don't feel comfortable doing that. I'm sure it's a beautiful country. I'm sure this has a lot to offer, but I don't want to go to any country where I feel like my well-being or my life is in jeopardy at any moment in time from a missile attack. I mean, watching the video footage last night is just, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. Even though my worst enemy, I wouldn't wish having to sit there and watch missiles rain down on you. So pretty terrible situation. Andres, they were going after a lot of the nuclear production facilities, so they did hit some facilities, but they didn't, no nuclear effect. They don't have apparently, Iran does not have the nuclear weapons yet. They're trying to enrich uranium and get that type of weaponry. Let's hope they don't ever get there. So that was your big piece, was that crude oil chart. Obviously, massive potential disruption there, although, I have a feeling that this will return back to normal. Let me zoom back to our normal days here. I think that this will probably start to sell off here a little bit, as that was just a big shock factor that caused this thing to spike up like that. But that was obviously your biggest winner on the day. Surprisingly, and this was a frustration that was... this was frustration that was expressed by one of the viewers out there. Let me get the viewer's name here. I always like giving you guys props when you send in comments and questions. This was from Daniel. Daniel says, it was a tough one. Let's see. I'm frustrated. Bitcoin was intended to replace gold. It was not intended to replace gold. Let's be clear about that. Bitcoin was never intended to replace gold. Bitcoin was intended to replace the banking system. Right? That's what Bitcoin was designed to do. And because it's a finite resource, it only has 21 million Bitcoin, and gold is a finite resource as well. We just don't know how finite it is. That's where the parallel between Bitcoin and gold came in. But it was never designed to replace gold. It's designed to make you be your own bank. That really is the whole premise of Bitcoin, is be your own bank. Give the bird to JP Morgan Chase or Wells Fargo and custody your own money. That is really the main reason it's there. He said, why is it still behaving like a security? During periods of uncertainty, such as the Israeli-Iran war, shouldn't Bitcoin have more like Bitcoin, or react more like Bitcoin or commodities? Yes. And you would think that it would have that effect, but it didn't. And Daniel, I totally understand what you're saying, and I get where you're headed there. I think a lot of it has to do with the institutional involvement, and now we're seeing a lot more institution jump into Bitcoin, and maybe it's losing that commodity kind of gold relationship and becoming more of just a normal security, and it doesn't have that inflation or that security hedge. Les says, with this uncertainty, most people go to gold. Why didn't they go to Bitcoin? Great question. It's a question I'm asking myself there, Les. And I don't know the answer to that one. If we were to, let's toggle gold. Let me put, I'm just going to do the ETF GLD on top of this if it lets me, just so we can kind of see what the relationship is here between gold and Bitcoin. And if we go to the beginning of the year, just from January 1st of this year, gold is outperforming Bitcoin. Right now, you have gold is up 32%, and Bitcoin is only up since the January 1st, only up about 7.9%. Now, obviously, long term, Bitcoin's going to show way greater performance, right? Just because it's Bitcoin, it's got way more acceleration in the short term. But recently, gold has been performing better, and I'm not quite sure why that is. Bitcoin is a risk-on asset these days. Exactly. And that's why I mentioned Big Eb. It feels like it's being traded more like a security than that flight to security. And, historically in collegiate textbooks, gold is always that flight to safety. In my mind, at some point, I believe that we will get to that where Bitcoin becomes more of a flight to safety asset. Now it just feels like it's securitized, and as the markets move, it moves with it. And I don't know why that relationship is there. Hard to figure it out, honestly, because in my mind, it should be that flight to security. No one controls it. They're not issuing more. There's no bad CEO I have to worry about. It's a global instrument. It should be more in line with gold. I would argue that gold is much more manipulatable from an asset perspective than Bitcoin, because gold, you could shut down the gold mines and there's no more extraction. All of a sudden, price would surge. So you could certainly manipulate it there. With Bitcoin, it's guaranteed 3.125 Bitcoin every 10 minutes, or 450 Bitcoin per day. Guaranteed. Clockwork, metronome, click, 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 click. With gold, we don't have that type stuff. It may take several years more before Bitcoin becomes this. I agree, Joe. Yep. And that's the part that I guess I get frustrated with, and I'm sure some of you as well, is like, okay, let's do what you're supposed to do and be this flight to security. But remember, this is a very new asset. It really started in 2009, so it's not that old. I mean, 15 going on 16 years really isn't, or actually 16 years now. January of 2009, which would be 16 years. You've got 100 plus years ahead of Bitcoin to become more mature and establish itself and become, I don't think the reserve currency of the world, but an alternative to all fiat currencies. So it's going to take some time. And yeah, I echo your frustration on that one, Daniel. I certainly do, because I thought today we'd see Bitcoin rip to the upside. Like when I saw Bitcoin's price chart last night, let me show you the 5 minutes here just so we can take a peek at that. Here is last night. And everything was going okay. It was hovering right around 106. Then all of a sudden just went straight down to 103 very quickly. And I'm like, wait, what? So I looked out at the news and I was like, oh, goodness. And I saw the video footage of the missile strikes. I'm like, oh, goodness, this is bad. This is really bad. And in my mind, I am thinking crude oil is going to spike. So, of course, I jumped to crude oil. I'm like, wow, that ship has already left the building. And then I thought Bitcoin for sure would be rallying. But it did not, and I can't explain why. I wish I could be the oracle of clarity on everything, and unfortunately, guys, I'm just as puzzled and perplexed as you are. I don't see why Bitcoin wouldn't have soared today. Exactly, Andres. Bitcoin is still a toddler. August says, because the old money is still king, and they believe more in the old way, which is gold. For now. What about the dollar cost? Yeah, well, that should theoretically weaken the dollar, right? When you have waste, I don't know if we call it waste, right? Obviously, when you bring in military force into a city to help support or to help restore order, the question is it necessary, right? Does the military need to be there? If it is, great. If not, then one side of the party will argue that it's a waste of capital and waste of money. But it certainly is a lot of money being spent on the military output, certainly what's going on out here in California and other cities as well. I don't know if you guys saw what DeSantis said in Texas or in Florida. Man, that was kind of jaw-dropping, right? That was pretty crazy. He says, if you're in Florida and someone stops your car in the road, someone's in the middle of the road stopping your car, you have the right to run them over. Oh, wow. That was kind of a surprising statement. And I know that the Democrats are already demanding his removal from office, but hey, look, that's why we have crosswalks. Is it legal tender in Florida? I'm not sure about that. I don't know if it could be legal tender. I know that a lot of states are actually opening up Bitcoin treasuries with regards to their pension funds and state holdings, which is fine. Yeah, Maman, I'll tell you, and this is where, I don't want to polarize anybody, but I will tell you that if I'm in a car and you are attacking my vehicle and you're pounding on my windows and you're standing in front of the car, my life feels threatened, I apologize. I'm running you over. Sorry, my life is in danger. You're in the middle of the road stopping my car for no reason. I'm running you over. And anyway, let's just don't get in front of my car and threaten me. It's a much easier battle. All right, let's see. I think I answered that one. Yeah, I got my AR ammo. It's funny because a lot of you have expressed concerns, and I'm like, yes, I appreciate the concerns for my well-being out here in California. Look, I stay out of it. I'm staying away from all that stuff. Plus, I've got a double-barrel shotgun that will tell me that if anybody decides to come near me, it's a regrettable mistake. So yeah, let's not get into that kind of conflict. Back to normal life. So Bitcoin not looking great, but I talked about this on Monday, or whatever this day was. We talked about this Thursday and on Wednesday, that as long as that 103 level holds, it really is all the way down to 102, then I think we're in good shape. So I still think we're totally fine. I'm not worried about it. I do think that this conflict does escalate, then you'll see more upside move here. Margaret says, trade that hammer. Why not, right? If you're going off of patterns, thanks, Margaret. This is a beautiful one because you have a sell-off happening into a demand zone. Now, granted, is this demand zone fresh? No. This demand zone here has been hit. And again, for the podcasters, we're looking at between 101,820 and 103,945. That's your zone. And it did pierce it, but it hasn't closed below it. We tailed into that today, and now you have a hammer formation. So, Margaret, could you, this weekend, as we trade 24 hours in Bitcoin on the weekends on the spot market, look at that 106,630 mark and say, if it breaks above that, I'm buying it. Absolutely. Let's see what the volume looked like. You had higher than normal volume, slightly higher than normal volume today, right? Of course, you would expect that on a 3-day sell-off of this magnitude. Maybe tomorrow surges even more, but that hammer formation, very tradable. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's tomorrow is the March. Tomorrow is not Sunday, Tofi. It's tomorrow, the 14th, is the big march in D.C., the military march. Let's hope that nothing bad happens there. I just feel like we need more peace. Yeah, Sunday, Father's Day. Let's see. I run a restaurant. I have zero. Yeah, I'm with you, Daniel. I think all business owners should be able to do much more when it comes to shoplifting and looting and that sort of thing. But unfortunately, there are rules in different states on what you can and cannot do there. But yeah, if you're taking away someone's business and livelihood, that's a threat, in my opinion. Absolutely, Stephen. Happy Father's Day to everybody out there, or to all the fathers out there. Even if you got a dog or a cat, I'll call it Father's Day for me. It's going to be Happy Father's Day for me. Okay, let me move up the list here. I started at the bottom, and now it's already switched. We had pretty significant downside move here in the Russell. Now, the Russell had that huge shooting star on Wednesday, which is a great pattern. Awesome follow-through, but notice the high volume today on the Russell. So it would lead me to believe that this is that reversal pattern, not pattern, but that we've already exhausted the sell-off pressure here because of just kind of fear and panic. 1.85% slide for the Russell 2000 today. That was your worst from the big three indexes. Then you got the NASDAQ. NASDAQ really wasn't that bad. If you think about the dramatic impact from the market today, it really wasn't that big of a deal. Granted, down 1.3% for the NASDAQ, but not that bad. I was really hoping to find some bargains and some opportunities. And when we look at that Magnificent Seven, I didn't see anything in there that I was like, I got to buy that. NVIDIA, down 2% on the day. But look at the candle. No big deal. All right, it was mainly a gap down, but right back to where we started at yesterday. You had Apple down 1.38%. Apple looks the worst here, that's for sure. Apple does not look great. You had Microsoft down 0.8. You had Meta down 1.5, but nothing here looks like, wow, screaming buy, right? Amazon coming right back up to that old breakout point we had, down 0.53. Alphabet or Google down 0.62. And then the only one that's leading to the upside here was Tesla today, up 1.94%, but not really anything there notable for volume on those. So that was your NASDAQ, really not that bad considering we had such dramatic news from around the world. Obviously, this is not going to impact tech. We're not getting a lot of chips from over there, but certainly impacting oil and, impacting oil. Now, moving up my list, I've got the dollar index, which had some volatility, but look where we are. Right? We are right in that yellow box. Been waiting for this. It's just been sitting here. It's teetering in that yellow box right now. Does not look good if you are someone who's bullish on that dollar. Again, as David Warner would say, the trend is your friend till the bend at the end. Actually, I would say that. But he's looking for whole number psychology. 98. We closed below 98 today. 2 days in a row. 98.13 is where we are right now. So we actually closed. We were below it. Now we've moved up just slightly. I have the bottom end of this range, this yellow box, is 97.69. Once you get below that, you've got to scroll back to a much bigger time frame or really zoom out to see. Most likely we'll go down to about that 95 mark. So a pretty significant potential slide here in the dollar index. Now that could be positive for the equity markets given the historical inverse relationship here. But I'm seeing what feels like all these historical relationships between the dollar and gold and Bitcoin and U.S. markets, they're not as tight as they used to be. It used to be like clockwork. If the dollar sold off, equity markets rallied. Well, we didn't obviously see that today. Slight move up in the dollar index, decent down day across the board for broad market indexes. So where did money go? Well, it shot back up to gold, which is now at the upper end of that yellow box and probably going to head towards that little blue line we drew on your screen, which is 3,545. We are today the highest all-time close ever for gold futures. Highest all-time close ever. We closed today's future side of things at 3,452.8. That is your all-time high close for gold. Great momentum, and of course, any further escalation over there will probably continue to drive this, and I do think that 3,500 mark will get hit relatively quickly if things continue to stay the same. Second on this list are yields. Again, I don't really feel like I have to say much here. Yeah, we fell down to that 4.3% yield for the 10-year, but I still think that the uptrend that's showing higher lows since April is more important, and we'll see if that trend continues. And of course, we talked about crude oil up 7.26%. Now, before I go any further, I've got so many different things I want to talk about that I get scatterbrained. I have had a request from actually a couple people asking, about community members wanting to join different groups, and I'm not sure how to do that. I know a lot of you are part of Trading Academy's groups, which is awesome. Some of you are doing things on your own. That's great as well. And others of you have asked me for, start a Discord group. So I started that process, and I will not be moderating that group all the time. I'll jump in every now and again, but I've obviously got a million things going on with work and all sorts of other pieces that I won't be able to moderate that group. But if it's something that you guys are interested in, what I think I'll do is I will open that one up. And if some of you want to be moderators for that, great, because I think you guys have been pretty much moderating your own group here. I set it up with multiple rooms. You've got video rooms and you have just straight chat rooms for each different asset class. And then in there, if you guys want to get in contact with each other, you can certainly message each other. I ask when you sign up or go into that, it's no fee. I'm not going to charge for a Discord group as everybody else does to make money. As you go into that Discord group, just read the rules. I'm making sure if I hear any hostility, aggressive name calling or threats, I'm going to have zero tolerance for it, right? And that needs to go for you guys as well. If I'm not in there, need to let me know if someone is out of line. I'm doing it all where I have to okay everybody. So it's not like an open thing where anyone comes, they're going to have to go through me because it's got my name on it, and I want this to be something that's good, a safe place for you to do trade ideas if you want. Totally up to you. But I figured I would set that up because I know that some people want to do, have other chat rooms of their own. Great, that's fine with me. And this will allow you guys all to kind of communicate with each other outside of here because you can't post links in here. You can't send direct messages in here. And outside of this, maybe when the show's over, you guys want to continue your discussions on whatever. I know that we've got a couple members here that do a Friday session at Trading Academy, and that's, one group, but that's behind a paywall. And maybe, I don't know, up to all of you guys, however you want to use this. Totally up to you. Just let's all understand that we're all friends in this. We don't have to all agree on everything, but let's be amicable. And just let me know. So I think, let me see if I can actually share the link. I hope I did this. Let's go. And again, I'm completely new to Discord. This is one of those things that I'm not even sure on how this all works. But let me go and invite people. So let's go invite friends. I'm going to copy this link here, and I will throw it into chat. And we will post that over here for you guys. And we'll just get that ball rolling. You can use Discord on a phone app. Margaret says, I never use Discord. I hadn't either till I started using Mid-Journey to do my visuals, and I don't go into trading rooms there per se. I know a lot of people do. Pretty much every financial quote-unquote guru has some sort of Discord room, and most people charge an admission where you have to pay a membership fee every year. I'm not going to do that. I'd actually thought about it as a way to just generate a little bit of extra revenue, but can you have the link in the video? Yeah. What I'm going to do by the dip from now on is I want to make sure this weekend I get it all set up okay. And once it's working, and please feel free to email me, give me feedback on it, because I'm the king of the channel, if you will, meaning I have the utmost power and rights. As we go, I'm sure many of you will be moderator privileges, which give you significant rights with what you can do in that room. And there's a bunch of different ways to go about it, but I just did this because, again, I have a gentleman who would like to approach some of the community to build part of his own community. He's got a chat room that he's doing, and he's got friends he trades with every single day. He's got a very close-knit group that he wants to maintain, a very small group. Great. We all have the choice and the prerogative to go wherever we want to go, but I'll start by creating this community here. Yeah, Okinola, yeah, I'm definitely going to continue to do this one. I'll continue to do the show, no worries. There's no plans to stop this program at any point in the near future, even though I have had pressure to quit because it's right in the middle of the day, and a lot of people are like, hey, that's work hours. I'm like, my skills are good. I'll get all your work done during the time. This little window of time is for me. Okay. Yeah, and for some of you who are more experienced, feel free to help others out in that group. Again, I'm going to have to watch a bunch of videos and really learn about how Discord works from a chat group function. But I'll just show you a visual here. You guys can see on the side, there's text channels, and these channels will just be, talking, like just typing in. So I got specific rooms, which is options, crypto, futures, forex. I thought about keeping one general room, but I don't know. I'm not quite sure the best way to set it up. And then there's also voice and video channels, which allow you to share your screens. They allow you to use microphones and cameras. So this certainly would be a much better place if you guys are, wanting to trade live and share screens and ideas. But again, I need to put a disclaimer on here because, if you lose money trading on this room or offer someone else's advice, that's on you. I'm not giving financial advice in there. This is really just you guys having a forum, a place to go and collaborate outside. So there you go. I already see a few of you sent in requests. I'll have to check those requests when I'm done with the show today. But before I forgot, I wanted to make sure I mentioned that one. Okay, now, I'm long overdue for two things. Number one, this lovely lady has been a great supporter of this community. Gives me a lot of good feedback, constructive criticism, and she asked a question on Twitter a couple days ago, and I have not gotten to it yet. So I feel bad because normally I should be much more responsive, but it just got lost in the shuffle. Of course, I'm talking about Margaret here, and Margaret says, the intraday candles on the ES are so big, it's hard to trade patterns if you want to control risk. Can you comment on this during the show? So, Margaret, typically, if you're trading patterns, you're looking for an ascending triangle, a descending triangle, breakouts, things like that. Okay, great. One of the main things that's going to help you is average true range. Understanding how much that security moves. So when you look at the ranges, let's just go back to a daily time frame here, and let's just pretend we're doing the S&P 500. I'm going to get rid of some of these boxes, but I'll slap on the ATR in here just so you guys can see it. Indicators, take my volume off. Go average true range. Okay, let me get the volume out of there. So here you can see the S&P actually has been losing a lot of its average true range. And typically what this does, it shows you how many points this bad boy moves over a 14-day rolling period. That's usually what it is. You can see that really over the past couple of days, it has surged up. Now intraday, if you go to like an hourly or something, yeah, this will probably show, especially today, in the last few days, a significant increase. So a big thing for me when I'm looking at that sort of volatility or knowing that things are picking up volatility, if I'm planning a stop loss, let's say it's an ascending triangle pattern, and the stop loss is below the lowest. Let's see if I can draw this. Why can't I? If you have a specific pattern, Margaret, just type it in and I'll try to draw a graphic or an example of that one. And it's tough to do all this stuff live, but I will do my best to get that drawn out for you. All right, so here I got a blank screen. There we go. Get them off my camera and grab my drawing board. So Oliver says bull and bear flags. Bull and bear flags can actually be some of the toughest ones to do because where do you place that stop loss? So since I'm waiting on that, I'll just do, here's a bull flag, right? So bull flag is price shoots up and then has that kind of sideways action. I've got microphones in my way here. Let's call this a bull flag. Sorry for the penmanship. I was going to be a doctor. There we go. Make that look like a G. What is that? Oh, it's the whiskey, guys. We'll just call it a bull flat. All right, come on. Come on, Merlin. Give me my cursor. I don't know why this cursor does this every single time. It drives me nuts. I can't get the red dot. Where's my red dot? There it is. Okay. Bull flag. So with the bull flag, you have your impulse move to the upside. You've got the sideways channel here. Ultimately, you're doing a simple calculation, which is your stop loss needs to be here if you're going long on a bull flag, right? Oops, LOSS. Jeez, I'm talking into it. So I got my stop loss there. That stop loss may need to be fairly wide depending on how wide this channel is. This channel between, let's just call this your entry. So ultimately, this piece here defines your risk. ATR will help me determine whether if my stop loss is too tight or not. So let's say I'm looking at this pattern, and I'll put some numbers on here. Let's say my entry is $40, and based off this, my stop loss is $38. So I got a $2 stop loss, right? If looking at this, I bring up ATR, and ATR says on the time frame that you're looking at, it's moving $6. I know right now that my probability on this specific trade is much higher being stopped out because I've got a $2 risk allowance, right? That's the difference between 40 and 38. And I know that it's moving on average $6. I'm going to get stopped out. Now the question becomes, knowing that volatility is much higher right now, let's make the assumption that volatility is much higher, do I now go back up here to my risk factor and say, let me make this $6 instead of $2? And now all of a sudden, this 38 mark turns to 34. Now, does that, how bad does that screw up my analysis here? Or does it ruin the trade if all of a sudden if my stop loss is like there, that's 34 down here? It might. It might actually just make you know what, I'm not going to take that trade. So I guess, Margaret, my response to that question is I'm always looking at the current market environment because on Monday things might be real slow and by Thursday it could be, nuclear rockets moving up and down fast. So I use ATR as kind of a barometer for exactly. My back hurt says depends on your entry. Yes, totally, right? But let's assume that we're going to continue to use this as a breakout trade. That's why I have the entry across the top here saying if we get there and break through, now I'm looking as that is my entry price and that's the buy point. So assuming that stays the same, to my back hurts point, could I, buy my entry here, move my entry down a little bit? Yes, but now I'm skewing everything. I'm not really trading the pattern itself. So with patterns, normally I'm basing my entry, my risk, my stop loss off the shape of the pattern, and then I'll use ATR to tell me if I'm off my rocker or not. Right? Is that stop loss too tight? Do I need to modify a little bit? And if I have to modify it so much that trade no longer functions, then I'll just move on to another trade. And you guys don't get to see my thought process on a daily basis, but I will tell you that every single day I probably pass on 10, 15, 20 trades every day. I look at it, I'll look at no, okay, next. No. I'm not going to take chances on them anymore, Every now and again I will, like with Circle. That obviously was a pretty big chance on my part, and I mentioned that during the show that this thing is ridiculous, extremely volatile. My timing might be off on Circle, but over the long run, pretty sure I'm going to be correct on that one. Let's go look at Circle because Circle had a day today, and it's been funny because you guys comment on Twitter like, "Oh, it's a good day, it's a bad day. It's a good day, it's a bad day." That's the nature of the beast with IPOs. But CRCL was up monsters today, 25% gain today, and obviously, I've got the 110 put, so that will most likely expire worthless for me. I'm going to keep it. I'm not convinced that this is worth $133 or $136 per share right now, given the fact that the IPO was actually $27. I said 28 on the show. It's actually 27 was the IPO price. Nuts. This is something that I normally don't do, but I had pretty strong conviction that this thing was going to go lower. It will, but I may have to jump and go to the July contract, which I may do. Right now I'm in that June 20th, that you guys know is that little gold vertical line there. It expires there, but I may actually have to shift over and go into the July contracts and short this one again. I'm pretty confident that it's going to ultimately start to fall apart. Granted, I see a lot more adoption here. Yeah, I might roll it. We'll see. We'll see what happens on Monday. I just have a feeling you're going to see more downside movement in this bad boy and happen fairly quickly. It's the danger of IPOs, is irrational exuberance, as my favorite guy would say. Rational exuberance. Remember Ben Bernanke, Alan Greenspan? Yeah. The July 18th contracts at $100. We'll see. I agree with you. Yeah. Well, obviously those puts are going to cost me a lot less money if I buy them on Monday. If I buy directional and stays at this price. So I'm okay with it. I might roll. I might just actually let them expire and just go to, we'll see. We'll see how it pans out on Monday. But Margaret, I don't know if that answered your question directly, but for me, trading is kind of like, it's kind of like going to a party, right? Some parties are calm and mellow and you can just sit and relax. Others are just crazy, insane, loud and boisterous and people swinging from the chandeliers. To me, that's markets. Markets are these crazy volatile things sometimes, like they were the other day when you sent that message, right? You had big intraday swings. That happens. And other days they're calm and boring. The only way to really read that is to use some tool or actually read price that says, here's how much it's moving. This is like your volume gauge on the stereo. And on that specific day when you said the price is, it's moving so much that it's hard to trade these patterns, you may have adjusted by using AETR a little bit and prevented yourselves from being stopped out on those. But, for me, when it's a pattern, head and shoulders or shooting stars or haramis, I've got those three variables in there, right? Which is entry, stop loss, and price target. So if I know my entry, if we go back to this example here, if I know my entry's up there at the top of this breakout of this bullish flag, I already have a target in mind, right? And let's just, since I've got the numbers on the screen here, let me squiggle some of this stuff out of here. Get rid of that. That's got to go, and that's got to go. So if I've got let's say we keep our risk at $2, right? That means that for a target, I better be shooting for $46, right? $6 profit target. $2 worth of risk, $6 worth of target equals a 3-to-1 reward, risk reward. If my target is like, let's say it's 18 points, and my target is $58, 1/3 of that is $6. So that may actually fit with the old ATR example here. So I am okay to fudge the numbers as long as the reward to risk ratio makes sense for the trade that I'm in. And it doesn't always work out that way. Obviously, I'd love to buy a $40 stock and have a pretty good, confident feeling we're going to get to 58 in a short window of time. That'd be great, but it doesn't happen all that too often. So that's how I do it. That's how I approach it. I have to be dynamic and adjust to what the moves of that market are today, kind of like a surfer does, right? TJ, the chart master who used to run the show, actually ran Power Trading Radio. I always related to TJ. TJ's a very laid-back guy. If you ever met TJ, he's just chill, super laid-back, but he's also a professional longboard surfer. He's really good. And he has websites that he goes to that just shows him the camera. And he'll just look at the beach and go, nope, oh, yep, I'm going that one. And I think that's kind of our job too, our camera is right here. It's easy. I can pull up a camera right now of the market and say, oh, yep, that's what's happening. Or I can also break this apart into any time frame that I want and look for movement, volatility, and action. And TJ would never go to the ocean if the waves are flat. There's no point. He also wouldn't go to the ocean if the waves were too big, which I think as a trader does speak to management and risk management. A too big a wave for a longboarder is not as fun. He likes a big, slow rolling wave to get on that longboard and just go. And traders as well need to kind of filter that market noise, our ocean, if you will, to say, these are the better odds for me or these are the weaker odds. And again, every one of you is going to be different, For example, Roger Best, who I've tried to get on the program. He doesn't really want to come on anymore. But Roger Best loves when a market is completely flat. That's his market of choice, when the market is flat and barely moving, because he trades huge share sizes of ETFs. So he'll trade 10,000 shares of SPY, and if he catches just a couple of nickels, he's done for the day, right? You get a nickel on 1,000 shares is $50, and he's doing 10,000 shares. He made a nickel. That's $500. Easy for him, and a market that's not stressful. The stressful thing for Roger would be I'm trading larger share size. Now that doesn't really work for me. Oliver says ETFs are bear call spreads. Either way, Roger is more of he's definitely, when it comes to trading, I would call him a simpleton, and not in an offensive way. He just likes to keep things as simple as possible, right? Show me something that's just going sideways and not moving. I can buy at the bid, sell at the ask, play those small little waves. I could even scalp that bad boy, and that's his opportunity. He loves it. It's great. One other question I want to get to before I wrap up here today. Julie, you sent me this one, and I actually did a whole deep dive into this, but I realized I haven't gotten to it yet. Julie says, I'm evaluating a company that says it's going to be traded on the stock market. They say that you can invest in them now. The website and graphics look great, but I am skeptical with AI-generated images in today's world. Is there a way to validate the legitimacy of a company if it hasn't hit the stock market yet? Absolutely. There's a lot of different things that you can do. Number one is I would just start digging into the company. Now, the company in particular that she was looking at was, I'm sure some of you guys have heard of it, Boxable. Great idea. I know Boxable. That's why when you sent me the name, I was like, oh, I know this one. So Boxable is a company that builds modular homes. Awesome. It's great. I actually really like this company. And here is a video of what they do. They have these, they look like shipping containers, but they just unfold a home at your building site, and it's done in a very, very short window of time. Now, they're very small. They're only a couple hundred square feet. However, all the doors, all the windows, all the insulation, everything is done except painting it, right? I mean, this is pretty amazing technology. It's literally like the Transformer cars as a kid, but now it's homes. So I totally agree with you, Julie. When you look at this, you're like, this could be AI, right? Never trust anything. Here's an easy way. Most scams don't have a phone number. You can order, you can call, right? First thing I would do to find out if a company is legitimate is I would look at their address. I would go and see if they have a business license, because if they don't have a business license, don't even consider it, right? If they're going to be public and they say they want to go public on the exchange and they don't have a business license number that you can actually go to and check online through the business reporting agencies, then it's a scam. I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. Boxable, I didn't do the research to find out, but they do have a business license. They are looking to do an IPO here soon. And one thing that you can do is you can also go to the SEC, to the regulatory body, and you can search that company's name, because even though Boxable is not publicly traded, they're doing something that requires you to register with the SEC. And that's this. They are offering an investment. So because they're offering an investment, even though it's not a stock, right? You can click on this and it says invest now, and here is the, hit the invest now. And then, here's the different sliding scale. If you invest $25,000 worth, they give you a 5% bonus in shares, and they tell you the type of stock it is. This document, which I actually have looked up, is filed with the SEC. They have to disclose because they are selling an asset. They're selling shares of an investment opportunity. Therefore, it has to be regulated by the SEC. You can download that document. You can print it out, check it, verify that it's at the SEC, and filed. So call them also. For me, businesses tend to have, the ones I've seen that are scams, they just post business addresses, and it's like a P.O. box. And if you go to search for it, you realize it's not real. There's nothing there. So I would encourage you to just do a lot of research on it. In this case, Boxable, I would say, is legit. How does this all work out when they do their IPO? Because I do believe that they want to do an IPO within the next 24 months. They've already filed an application. Their ticker symbol will be, I think it's BXBL. BXBL, I believe, is their ticker symbol. It's not there yet. BXBL, I believe, will be their ticker symbol going forward. They registered. They have to file with the SEC to get that ticker name. And I don't see SEC. It's actually with the exchanges that they have to do that. How do you invest in it prior to the IPO? So they have right on their site here that you can buy shares. Now, here's the question I have, Margaret, and this will require more research. It says here this is a Series A3 preferred stock. When they go public, does this get converted to a BXBL share? That I don't know. That would require a bit more digging there, but that's how they're doing it. They're giving you ownership. You actually do get a piece of ownership of this company based off the amount of money that you invest. So, yeah, that's how you would invest prior. A company can do that, right? They can sell and raise capital that way. If it's over a certain value, they have to disclose it to the SEC. Because it's a selling of a security. So that's it. And if you ever think something is a scam, just keep digging as much as you can. Call them, look at obviously social media feeds, but I take that with a grain of salt. I'm sure some of you, I'll even give you an example. I always tell you guys one of my favorite restaurants here in Orange County is called Cal Shabu. Cal Shabu. How on earth that place doesn't have 5-star reviews from every customer, I don't know. But there's always people who are unhappy. And I went to this, I looked at their Yelp reviews, and there was someone who gave me 1 star and just like slammed the restaurant. I'm like, this person's off their rocker. There's no way this happened. It was a made up story. Probably another business owner trying to get them, bad press. So you got to be careful what people put out there. Yeah, Yelp I feel like Yelp actually allows bad reviews. I feel like Yelp has a department inside of the Yelp company that makes up names and puts bad reviews out there. So you call Yelp and you pay to have them removed. I think it just seems like that. It's just, some of these reviews are ridiculous. Anyway, there will always be haters. I'm sure there are people that think I'm the absolute scum of the earth and I'm a loser and I'm a liar and I'm a cheat, whatever. You're not going to make everybody happy, but the facts should speak for themselves. So do your research, dig. Yelp is, you should Yelp. I wonder if you can. Can you review Yelp? 1 star. It's garbage. So anyway, Julie, I hope I answered your question there. It's just research, dig as much as you can. If you can call someone on the phone and talk to them, that's a really big differentiator. Most don't have a number that you can call and actually talk to somebody. And I think that would be a very, very, very good thing to do. If you were ever questioning the validity of a company, find out where they're based. Find out where they're based. You can also go onto Google Maps. If they say their address is, 123 Main Street in Santa Ana, California, go to Google. Type in 123 Main Street and then drop the little person and see if you see business, signage, facilities, plants, whatever they do. That's another easy way to do it. But I like your approach, Julie. Guard up, pretending that everybody is a scam. Pretend that everyone's trying to take your money. In this case, if I saw this, I would be a little skeptical, honestly. It just seems weird. But I know Boxable. I've been kind of following them for years because I like the concept. They're just trying to do this to raise capital so they can get bigger and go public. They got to get to a certain size before they go public. If you have haters, you're doing well in life. I don't know. I don't like when people hate me. I don't like having hatred towards really anybody, even though I do have significant hatred towards a couple of people. But that's fine. Do I like spicy? Yes, I do. It's funny. I used to not like spicy, and I had one of my really good friends. He makes his own hot sauce. He's a phenomenal guy. He's just this organic, earthy dude, and he makes his own hot sauce for years. And this guy was so addicted to hot sauce, he would put it on like ice cream, and anything he'd eat, he'd put hot sauce on it. I was always repulsed by it. But then I started getting into hot sauce, and yeah, I actually have a garden with tons and tons of peppers, guys. In my garden now, I have Thai chilies, serranos, jalapenos, habaneros, serranos, ghost peppers, and buchaloki, which are ghost peppers. So yeah, there you go. I was recommending you for the admin for Merlin Discord server. Who? I'm sure several of you will be moderator of that room. All right. Cool. That's going to do it for me. There's nothing happening on an economic calendar on Monday. There's nothing happening from an earnings calendar on May, so I'm going to wrap up on Monday. I'll wrap up that. As this weekend goes through, keep your fingers crossed for less escalation and what goes on over in Israel and Iran. I'm a little worried that it's going to become much more of a political tool and start to bring in more bad, an escalation by having people back certain countries, right? Does the U.S. go and say, hey, we're backing Israel, and then all of a sudden, Russia or China says, hey, we're backing Iran. and then all of a sudden this really starts to escalate. That could derail trade talks. That could derail tariff pieces. So it could be a little bit difficult. No, I wasn't. Let me see the answer to that question. Let's see real quick. No. This is the wrong Monday. I've had this question asked a couple times. The rules are, if the market's closed, I'm not doing a show. If they're open, then I will. No, the stock market is not closed on. No, it didn't. It's Martin Luther. Great. Yeah, I should. Yeah, I don't see why we should not do a show. Shinobi, I want to say this, Shinobi. I don't have a Discord channel. I'm creating one for the audience. I'm not going to be moderating or running it, but if I want people to have opportunity to share ideas outside of this channel. Oh, yes. No, it's not next week, Margaret. My presentation in Vegas is going to be in July. It's July 15th is the one I go. Thursday is closed, yes. So no show on Thursday. But yeah, my presentation in Vegas is in July. I certainly hope so, because that's what I booked my flight for. July 15th. And by the way, that presentation in Vegas on July 15th, which I have here for everyone to see, and look at my wonderful mug. That's on Tuesday is when I'll be giving that presentation. I was just asked to do a panel that'll be there at 4 p.m. on Monday. So I will actually be there Monday and Tuesday. I'm going to be on a panel about digital assets and technology on Monday. I think that's going to be free to everybody. So if you are going to that event, the Master Symposium in Vegas, you can catch me at those two things, which will be Monday. And I'll get you more information about specifically what panel it is. I was just asked last night if I wanted to participate. And of course, me, an opportunity to talk about digital assets? Absolutely. All right, everybody. That's gonna do it for me. Again, cheers. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. Sorry for the scattered show today. I will put the Discord link in the description. You can also scroll up if you missed it. I'll put the link in the notes to the show. It's probably not set up right. I'm going to tell you right now, it's probably not set up correctly. I will work on getting that set up a little bit better over the coming weeks. And of course, your feedback's going to help there. If you see something you want changed, you can email me. It's tradermerlin@gmail.com. That said, cheers, y'all. Have a great weekend. Thank you for showing up and tolerating me today. So take care, everybody.